The 2021 college football season is yet to kick off, but it already feels like we're in the thick of things when it comes to the 2022 NFL draft class. I've already given you early rankings on each of the position groups, and these guys I got for you today are a few names that I probably didn't touch on or didn't give them the respect they deserve. They're really some names that you should be watching out for going into this season, and they could be big names by the end of the year. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So this is the Never Too Early Draft podcast where we talk all things NFL draft. We've been going over some of the past draft classes, so let's get back to the one that is upcoming. Let's go ahead. We're going to be covering at least one player per position, and we're going to start, of course, at the quarterback position. And we're starting with Phil Jurkovec. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name, but this is a guy a lot of people like to bring up when it comes to the quarterback class. This is a very stuffed quarterback class. It might not be nearly as top heavy, but there are a lot of names. It's probably a lot deeper than we're giving it credit for. Now, he's a former Notre Dame transfer, only played a couple of snaps there. Originally recruited by Brian Kelly, right? I believe Brian Kelly, who was over there, but Jurkovec has been he was pretty darn solid for Boston College last season. The dude's 6'5", 226. He boasts some pretty impressive mobility considering his size, but he was very successful outside of the pocket, outside of structure, just in general. He was very composed under pressure, and it's not like he's playing for an ACC powerhouse there at Boston College. Now, he's very good in the intermediate passing game, but I really feel like he can work on his touch downfield. Downfield was only his completion percentage was only 31% on passes of 20 yards or more, which isn't bad, but if he could really elevate that, then that would help him a ton. He has 7 forced missed tackles on 36 rushing attempts, 7 fumbles, bit alarming, but keep in mind the dude's a quarterback. He's not a running back. Now, I like to really see him show up against better competition. For instance, last season against Notre Dame and Clemson, he went 30 of 66 for 476 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception, but still that completion percentage, it ain't pretty. I think there is a good chance, because he does have an extra year of eligibility, considering the class might be very deep, at least when it comes to the day 3 portion of the draft. I think there's a chance that he might decide to return for his final year. He might actually come out of the 2023 season, because I really think that there is maybe a bit of first round potential when it comes to him. Currently got an early day 3 grade on him. I feel very similar to him as I do about Kenny Pickett at a Pitt, and I brought that up in my rankings video, but keep an eye out on this guy, man. He's a very interesting prospect. Not the last Boston College prospect that we're going to talk about on this list. Going to the running back position, Kenny McIntosh out of Georgia. This guy should be started, not Zamir White. This guy is so much more dynamic as a ball carrier than White is, man. I mean, just looking at their stats, it just rings true. It really does, and especially if you watch the tape. So McIntosh, he only got about a third of the touches as White did last year, and McIntosh had 23 forced missed tackles on 57 touches compared to White's 28 forced missed tackles on 150 touches. McIntosh, this dude averaged over a full yard in yards after contact compared to White. Man, he's got some real shiftiness. He's very fluid in how he moves. You could tell that with his route running. It's not like Georgia's asking him to run this huge route tree, but when they do ask him to go out and be a receiver, you can just see the shiftiness in his route running. Not to say that he has a complete route tree. He certainly does not, but definitely something that you can grow upon. This guy is extremely difficult for linebackers and safeties to cover. On top of that, excellent kick return. Very, very good kick return skills. The dude's got the speed. He's got the explosiveness. He shows a lot of patience, waiting for the hold open when he is given the ball, when he is asked to be a running back there. He never gets too bouncy in the backfield. That was something I was worried about a couple of years ago with Cam Akers at Florida State. Not that offensive line was really helping him out there. But that's the thing. McIntosh, he's running behind a wonderful offensive line. I also like how he takes contact. You're not going to arm drag this guy down to the ground. I wouldn't say he's got like next level balance, but he is definitely a guy to watch for. I like him a lot better than Zamir White. I got an early day 3 grade on him currently. Really depends what his workload will look like at Georgia next year. 6'1", 210. Size is kind of like whatever. He's a bit tall. Not that's he's just not as compact is what I'm looking for in terms of a wordage, I guess. At wide receiver, I got Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. Man, this guy, like low-key, normally I'm not a big contested catch guy. I typically like to see guys who can, separate. Separation is kind of keen, especially in the NFL, and it is in college. So he's a former junior college transfer, last season being his first season there at Iowa State. And he was tied for 9th in the nation in forced missed tackles for a receiver, 16 on 64 receptions. That kind of first caught my eye statistically, and then I was like, all right, let me go take a look at this guy, because you love forced missed tackles. Now, he's not very sudden. I mean, his stop-start ability is nothing to write home about. It's really less than desirable, but he's just so hard to bring down. Like, just much like with McIntosh, you're not arm tackling this guy. It's almost a death sentence if you try to. He's not a burner by any means, but he's got long strides being a taller guy, so he can work it downfield. And he can create separation, especially the way this guy maneuvers his body. His body control is just top notch. I would say he's very savvy as a route runner. Consistently last season, when Purdy was forced out the pocket, because Brock Purdy, man, he's kind of decent outside of structure. He was constantly going in the quarterback's direction, heading towards the sideline, making himself a target for a scrambling, under pressure Brock Purdy. When it comes to contested catches, he's only 10 to 21 over his career, which might not be wonderful, but it's not bad by any means. Really, almost half of his receiving yards last year came after contact. I mean, shoot, even on screens, this guy was kind of dangerous, breaking 6 tackles on 10 receptions on all designed screens. So the guy is interesting. I got a midday 3 grade on him currently. I look forward to seeing more from him. I don't think he's going to be a guy that tests out great at the combine if he gets invited, but he is a name definitely to watch out for. And then at tight end, because this is a packed tight end class, there's a lot of guys here. But one someone brought up to me last year was Zamir Mitchell, or ZAIRE Mitchell out of Notre Dame College. Not Notre Dame, but Notre Dame College. He actually transfers to Florida Atlantic this year. He's got good tight end size, 6'5", 250. Bam. You're ticking boxes already. His season high came in 2019 because they had the shortened season last year, but he went for 53 receptions for 573 yards, 6 touchdowns. The guy's extremely athletic. He's got a frame that can hold up as a blocker. It was never an issue for him there at Notre Dame College, but he now moves to Florida Atlantic, so he's going to be a part of a Group 5 school. He'll join former Oregon and Florida State coach there, Willie Taggart. He'll also join former Miami Hurricanes quarterback, I'm a Hurricanes fan, what can I say? Was it N'Kosi Perry, who is kind of whatever, but I don't know if he's going to get force-fed the ball. Just judging by Willie T's offense there, it's a very screen happy. They like to take shots here and there, so I don't know necessarily if it's an offense where he will get fed as a receiver, but it is a guy to watch out for. Keep in mind, man, Florida Atlantic, they pushed out Harrison Bryant just a year or so ago, so he could be a much better prospect than Bryant. I got him as an undrafted free agent currently. It's going to hold true. He's going to need one heck of an offseason process, I really think, to make a name for himself. And then I got 3 guys on the offensive line. At tackle, I got Sean Ryan here out of UCLA. Was a guy I didn't talk about. I saw in a couple mock drafts, early mock drafts from other people. So I wanted to go take a better look at him. 6'5", 318, not bad. That's pretty good size. More importantly, this guy, he handled Kayvon Thibodeaux. Just saying, Kayvon Thibodeaux, he kind of got handled here. In week 12 of last season, he held Thibodeaux to only 1 pressure on 25 true pass sets. Pretty darn solid. The only real hiccup last season came against Arizona State, which they have had a very good defensive line. And on top of that, you got to worry about Merlin Robertson rushing here and there. But in that game, he allowed 3 pressures, kind of big, but he only allowed 7 on the whole season. So keep that in mind. He's solid enough as a run blocker, but where he really cuts his teeth is in pass protection. He had to step up. He's still pretty young. He might not come out, but he's a former 4-star recruit. He's got some real athleticism. A lot of people thought he could be a stupid athletic guard. I think he could hang out there at tackle, especially based on last season. I think he's just a junior next year, so he might not be eligible. He'll be eligible. He might decide to come back, but just a name to watch out for. He's already getting a lot of love. He's a mid-day 2 pick for me right now. And then Kyler Scott. I don't know how to say his name. I'll get better at names. Just give me the full college football season. I'll get these names down. But out of Iowa, he was actually raved about by Tristan Wirfs. Just talked about his nastiness, which you're going to need when you're an undersized offensive interior guy. He's 6'2", 293. You want to get above that 300 threshold. There's very few guys that really are the exception to that rule. But again, bit undersized, and it's just really a small sample size we're working with when it comes to Kyler here. Only 781 snaps. However, this guy's been shut down in pass protection, and it really warrants talking about. He only had 1 pressure in 2020. It came against Purdue in the opener, and it's the opener. You don't grade him too harshly because of that. But he also, Iowa, they won't be facing like any premier competition next season. I think they really only have Penn State and Minnesota unless they make the Big Ten conference championship, which it'll probably be against Ohio State, let's be honest. So that'll be interesting to see, but definitely a name to just to put up there. He's playing next to Tyler Linderbaum, who I'm in absolute love with. But yeah, just be on the lookout for this cat. And then I got Kane Maiden at Notre Dame. He is a grad transfer, another grad transfer here. He played at Marshall last season, and Marshall, their offense, it's kind of usual. It's more of a run-first type of offense, but the dude has dominated the MAC for the last 3 seasons. He's more renowned for his run blocking. However, this guy in true pass sets, he's been extremely successful. And he's going to Notre Dame. I appreciate the step up in competition. Notre Dame, they really face a smorgasbord of elite competition as well next year. So it'll be very interesting. I think he has a chance to make an argument, right, to be a day 2 guy rather than a day 3 guy. But as of now, late day 3 sounds about right. Again, these are all early projections. So let's move to the defensive side of the football. I got T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas for the defensive interior. The dude's a mammoth, 6'4", 348. Reminds me a lot of Tyler Shelvin, especially how Texas utilizes him. He's always been asked to be a run first, a run contain, and then go after the passer. Now, this dude's pretty athletic for his size. He's got extremely quick hands. He's probably the top nose tackle in this class, true nose tackle in this class. He did top 300 yards, or 300 yards. He topped 300 snaps last year, which you like to see. You want to see those guys being on the field for at least a grip. Hopefully, I'm hoping he could get that number maybe closer to 500 next year. We'll see. He was among the top 50 interior players in the nation when it came to his run defense. I mean, look at the guy. It's a no-brainer. The dude's stupid powerful. He does disappear at times here and there, but still, he had a 9% win rate when it came to being a pass rusher. Keep in mind, he was run contained first. He's got the ability. He can take a massive jump here, maybe get into that late day 2 conversation, much like we had with Tyler Shelvin. So, interesting name to watch. Not the last Texas guy either. Then I got a couple of edge rushers here. And first one being Arnold Ibikete. Hopefully I said that right. Again, I'll get these names down by the end either. He's a former transfer from Temple. He's a grad transfer. Now playing at Penn State. Keep in mind, Penn State, they kind of lost some significant talent at pass rusher last year in Shakatoni, in Odafe Owe. So this guy should see a huge uptick in snaps. What really caught my attention was his pass rush win rate. He had 22 pressures last season with 4 sacks, but he had a win rate of over 25%. Kind of ridiculous. That was 6th among edge defenders with 89 pass rushing snaps or more. That's kind of the number that we're all using, especially with the shortened season. That's typically where you're like, okay, these guys got significant amount of time as pass rushers last year. He only saw 537 snaps in general there at Temple during his whole time there. So we're going to see this guy on the field a lot. Hopefully, it should pan out because he's stupid athletic. He is a bit undersized. 240, you want those guys to be typically 250, but it'll be interesting to see how he holds up against Power 5 competition. I appreciate these guys going from small school to big school and see how they play against it. Because this guy, much like, I would say unlike, Quincy Roche. Quincy Roche was never a run defender, even at Temple. Arnold here was. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. And then the other edge rusher I want to talk about is Alex Wright out of UAB. Kind of a freak specimen at 6'7", 260. He played alongside Jordan Smith, and then we know UAB, they're running that kind of 3-4-esque offense, so these guys are being asked to be stand-up pass rushers. So they're coming out of typically they're not in your normal 3-point stance. Almost all of his rushes came outside of the tackle. Now, he did have the luxury of playing across from Jordan Smith, who was just a monster. There's a reason he went in the 4th round. But Alex Wright's production's nothing to scoff at. He had 22 pressures. He only had 1 sack, but he had a 22% win rate. That was good for 18th in the nation. I'm just saying, man. And it's not like he disappeared when they faced better competition. Against Miami, he actually had 4 pressures on only 19 pass rushing snaps. That's worth noting. I'm not talking about Miami, Ohio. This is Miami, Florida. The U, baby, the U. So, worth noting. It's also worth noting that he was heavily recruited by some serious teams that pushed out some serious pass rushing prospects this past year in Tulane and in Duke. Keep in mind, Duke, they pushed out Chris Rumpf, Victor Dimukeje. Tulane, they pushed out Patrick Johnson and Cam Sample. So those were teams that pushed out some good edge rushers. They were actively trying to get him. They did not get him. Alex Wright might be a guy to check out. He is only a true junior, though. He could return for his senior year because he would greatly benefit from a Senior Bowl. So we probably won't see him in this draft class, but it's a guy worth noting. I'll be very interested to see how he does this year, especially with no Jordan Smith. And then at the linebacker position, I mentioned him in a few of my mock the mocks because it was just a guy I hadn't checked out yet. It's DeMarvion Overshone. out of Texas. Interesting size, 6'4", 217. So already it's like, oh, you're a bit undersized. I'd rather you closer to that 230 range. And much like Jabril Cox was last season, Overshown was one of the most targeted linebackers in the country. And how did he fare? I thought he fared pretty well. He only allowed 50-plus yards in coverage in 4 of Texas's 10 games last year. And over the course of his career as a starter, he's only allowed that 50-plus yards in coverage 6 times out of 18 games. Last season, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. That's great. Show me your ball skills. Show me your ball skills, buddy. Now, he mainly played weak side linebacker and middle linebacker, but he was asked to dip into the slot quite a bit, which so was JOK. That's why JOK was highly sought out. For the most part, we know he kind of fell because of the fake heart condition that got tested out at the virtual combine. It was kind of funky. But not virtual combine, but it was like a medical combine. But speaking of Overshown, he played 131 snaps in slot last year. Now, he's a very willing participant in the run, but is he good against the run? He had 29 defensive stops. That's solid, but he's probably one of the worst tacklers in this class. He had a 24.1 missed tackle rate. Homie, you need to clean up on that. He needs to add weight. He needs to show he can wrap up. But this guy is very promising, especially in what he can do in coverage. I really like him. I got an early day 3 grade on him currently, but I think he could easily elevate that to a day 2 grade. Just showing, hey, I put on some pounds and I'm tackling it a little bit better. Now, go to the corner position. I got a couple of guys here. I'm going to start with Avery Young out of Rutgers. Rutgers, they're not going to have too many names at all. They're just not. They don't have a lot of good NFL talent on that squad. This year, they have a linebacker I'm very interested in, and then there's Young, who really, he's one of the most experienced corners in this class. He has over 2,200 snaps throughout his whole collegiate career, mainly playing on the boundary. However, he has displayed he can play in the slot as well. And he's just a very good run defender, and that translates when you look at his play strength. This guy is a dog, dude. I love him as a press corner in general. It's so hard to get off the line when you are facing him, but he's played in a variety of different coverages there at Rutgers, and he has excelled. He has. In off coverage, he's very good at mirroring receivers. He's very fluid. He's got some loose hips. He can turn those hips fairly quickly, and he's got good long speed, but his short area quickness, it's really nothing to write home about. More often than not, quarterbacks would opt not to throw his way. Now, over his career, he's allowed a completion rate of 56%. However, in the terms of ball skills, like I said, they don't really throw his way, especially last year, but he doesn't really have much in the way of ball skills. And also, being as physical as he is, penalties have been an issue, at least through 2018 to 2019. He committed 13 penalties. He cleaned that up last year, only committed 2 in 2022 or 2020. Let's see if he kind of continues that, because penalties you kind of worry about, man, because like if they're calling it college football, then you know, hey, take it easy. Take it easy. And then the second corner I have on this list is Brandon Sebastian out of Boston College. I really like this guy's build, because if he puts on some weight, he's got the length. He's 6 foot, 185. Puts on, if he just gets to 190, I'm pretty satisfied. I got a late day 3 grade on him just because his play is so up and so down. What really caught my attention was how experienced as a man coverage corner he is. And I mean, no corner in this class has been tested nearly as much as Sebastian. Over the course of his career, he has been targeted 203 times. He's only allowed 118 receptions, which does sound like a lot, but considering how often he was targeted, and he's typically facing the opposing team's wide receiver 1, allowing a completion percentage of 58%, I think is pretty solid. He has allowed 14 touchdowns over the course of his career. Yes, like I said, when I said this guy's a roller coaster, he is. He has probably as many blown coverages as he does big plays in coverage because the guy's ball skills are real. 4 interceptions with 27 pass breakups over the course of his career. It's kind of legit. You do go back to when he has to face better competition. Clemson kind of worked him. He allowed 9 receptions on 10 targets for over 110 yards. No touchdown, though. No touchdown. But also didn't make a play in coverage, which is kind of, well, when you're only allowed one or when you're forcing only one incompletion, yeah, your ball skills in that game is not going to be great. But I don't think this dude's a special athlete, but with that much experience on the outside, with just the amount of ball skills he does have, and just that level of adversity, man, this guy is tested and true. I think it's worth the look at. If he could dramatically improve his play, his production this year, if he could have a strong off-season process, I think he could sneak into day 2. I think he's worth noting. He's just another corner in this already studded cornerback class. And then finally at the safety position, I got another transfer. It's Kendrick Duncan Jr. He's at Louisville, but he's played, I think, 3 or 4 years there at Georgia Southern. 6'3", 225. I like the size considering how Georgia Southern played him. He had over 500 snaps in the box, but then he had over 700 at free safety. They played this man deep, and you know what? I think he did a good job. Louisville, it sounds like he is going to be competing to play in the box, which is probably his role in the NFL. Let's be honest. He's very active in coverage, 6 interceptions, 10 pass breakups over his career. He's one of the better run defenders at the safety position with 35 defensive stops, only a missed tackle percentage of 9.4. If you can keep it under 10%, I'm a happy camper. And I like him moving to the box because I don't think he's got like exceptional movement skills, but I think when you, especially deep, I don't think it's gonna, not say he can't do it in the NFL. I just prefer him not to do it consistently. I don't think he could do it consistently. And I love these guys that decide, hey, we're going to go to the Power 5 and we're going to test our ability. We're going to test our skills there. And it really gives us something to watch. I say us fans, us evaluators, us analysts, whatever the hell you want to call me. It gives us something to watch because when you're consistently facing top tier talent, and if his play can translate from Georgia Southern to Louisville, where he will be tested, man. There's a lot of quality competition there between the Hurricanes, Clemson. I know the ACC. It's kind of like they're kind of like the backseat driver when it comes to like the Big Ten and the SEC. But hey, the ACC, they got some serious competition there. I love him stepping up in stepping up the level of competition. If he can play in a similar manner, this guy honestly could be a day 2 guy. There's a lot of good safeties in this class though, but he's just an interesting name to watch out for. But y'all know what that means. I've gone over 14. That means that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated and much obliged. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.